Judaism, yes. Zionism, no. The state of Israel must go.
Judaism, yes. Zionism, no. The state of Israel must go.
With that, I'm going to introduce Rabbi Weiss. He's going to give you a very good breakdown of the difference, the huge difference between Zionism and Judaism. Rabbi Weiss, give him a round of applause.
With the help of the Almighty, we are unfortunately gathered together once more. Another day of crying, of sorrow, of bloodshed. We were hoping every day we look to the Almighty and pray that we should be able to come and gather to celebrate a free Palestine, a free Gaza. But unfortunately, we are here once again to cry, to beseech the leaders of the Western world, to beseech the human rights activists and the layman, every single human being who has blood in him, who has meat and blood, should be standing up and screaming at the terrible atrocities that are being perpetrated against an innocent people. People, unfortunately, have no inkling of what is happening in Gaza. They have not seen. Because when the Western world reports, they report there's a war going on with over 100 dead in this war. How despicable! There's a war, and between the two there's over 100 dead. Or are we talking about almost entirely Palestinian people who have nowhere to run, who are simply standing there hopelessly with no avenue of escape? We should pray to the Almighty to bring a speedy and total dismantlement, and God help peaceful to this abomination, to this state of Israel that is one crime after crime after crime. Not only the 60-odd years that they are a state, but for well over 100 years that they've come up insidiously occupying the Holy Land. We as Jewish people attest to this. We have our relatives who have been living there hundreds of years together with the Muslim, with the Arab Christian people, with the Arab Muslim people in total harmony. There is no religious conflict here. The conflict is between the Satan and the righteous people. The conflict is between this Zionist entity that has the audacity to wave the name of the Almighty and the Jewish identity to perpetrate a rebellion against God. This is what it's all about. They have created an endless river of bloodshed that has started over 100 years ago. Again, we have elderly Jews that are living in New York, tens of thousands who have left the Holy Land because they simply didn't want to be under this occupation. They found this repugnant evil that they could not possibly bring up their children in such an atmosphere. We want you to know, we stand and embrace the people of Palestine, the people of Gaza. Our hearts go out for them. We cry with them, and we are humiliated by the actions that are being perpetrated by people who are using our name. Judaism is not Zionism. Zionism is not Judaism. Zionism is a diametric opposite of Judaism. Judaism is simply subservience to God, to uphold His teaching. Zionism is a movement started a little over 100 years ago by mainly people who detested the religion and were looking for an escape, and yet to look as distinguished Jews in the Jewish community. Theodor Herzl, Jabotinsky, and all their cohorts who flaunted the fact that they didn't observe the Torah. Until today, the leaders of that country and all their hanger-oners, they don't hold the Torah. And the ones that they were able to ensnare from the evangelistic Christians and from the Jewish community are being duped through many ways. Some is because of the fear-mongering, the evil, the vilification of the Palestinian people and of the Muslim people at large, claiming that they want to drive the Jews into the sea. How despicable! How much that hurts when these countries, the Muslim and Arab countries, this hurts to see a people calling and hurting and there's no words, simply no words. We were in Gaza. We saw what was happening there. We went to orphanages. We saw the children who are mentally and who are spiritually, physically, in every manner that you can think. They are maimed. Not only the people that die and afterwards we unfortunately forget about them. All the family, all the people that are there, and then the world at large they have relatives. Well, these people are affected. These people are maimed for life. How could we stand by and watch as one bomb after another bomb falls and destroys people's lives? Mind you, my Jewish brethren in Palestine and occupied Palestine are also on the streets day after day. They demonstrate, they cry, and then they get brutally beaten by the Zionists. Of course, this is not reported on in the papers because Zionism is supposed to be the protector of the Jews, and anybody who has the audacity, who dares to stand up and show another picture will be stamped anti-Semitic for life, will be stamped a hater. How hopeless this scene looks. But again, there is a great Almighty to this world. And we turn to the Almighty who is totally compassionate. And we plead, please, please stop. Don't let these Zionists commit not even one more crime. Let this abomination, this terrible entity disappear from the map. How much more bloodshed, how much more suffering. We have to just state that just for people who are confused, Zionism, what it is simply a transformation from the Jewish religion into a nationalistic concept. It has nothing to do with the religion. In fact, the Jewish religion clearly spells out that Jews are not allowed to create their own sovereignty, their own entity. We were put under oath by God. We wait as Jews for 2,000 years already for the ultimate revelation of God's glory when all humanity will recognize God and we will go up and serve Him. That is the belief of Jews. The concept of a third temple, the concept of King David, it will be the will of all people. We say to the people, and that is why Jews and Muslims were able to coexist, because we have our belief and the Muslims follow what they believe. So what? We were always able to flourish and thrive together. Who cares? Yet the Zionists come, supposedly these intelligent, cultured people, and they stood up and created this rift, this havoc, and this inhumane condition. These people who claim to be the Western world, these people who claim to be the educated of Harvard and Yale, these are the ones who are perpetrating crimes that belong for animals that have never been trained. That is what it's all about. They have no right to use my name. They have no right to use the name of Judaism or the Star of David or the name Israel. Let the world know they are thieves, rogue, cheap thieves. The only reason that they exist is because the Satan who's backing them has able to intimidate the press and the politicians. But every human being is required to just stand up and cry out for justice and for compassion and cry out to the Almighty and cry out to the world that they have to step back and realize that what is here is not a religious conflict, not anti-Semitism. It is simply a relatively new movement of 100 years that stepped into a neighborhood that was going like a machine with peace and friendship, and they've destroyed everything. Let the world wake up. Where is your logic? Where is your intelligence? Plead with the world and don't be intimidated. You are required by God to stand up and bring justice and righteousness and peace. Stand up and let us, like I you are saving Jews by letting the world know that Zionism is not Judaism. It's a cheap, selfish, flawed political movement that the state of Israel is its baby. And if you remove this impediment to peace, there will be peace. History attests to that. Let us pray to God, who's the ultimate controller of the world, to have his compassion and bring the speedy end to this rebellion against him, this abomination called the state of Israel. Let us join hands. Let us all stand together, do and pray, and let us hope the Almighty will look at us with compassion and save the people of Gaza